right, Rob Davidson, CEO of Cure Pharmaceutical. We are a vertically integrated drug delivery technology company, delivering many different APIs. We're actually an FDA-registered facility. We also have Schedule I DEA approval for a multitude of APIs, including cannabis. So we are working very closely with several research institutes, as well as you'll see some of the largest cannabis companies in the world developing drug delivery technology companies for them. So basically, the challenge for any type of API or new drug active that you want to deliver is the efficacy, safety, and adherence in the delivery of that drug. Patient compliance is a big deal as well. So we integrate using a proprietary polymer delivery system, both in buccal, which is between the cheek and gum, sublingual, and I'll go over that, to deliver and bypass first-pass degradation. The typical way that the drugs and cannabis right now, whoever's had edibles or brownies and tried cannabis before, you know that the onset can change from 1 hour to 5 hours. You don't know how much dose you're getting. So the typical delivery is oral delivery. And we look at how do we change oral delivery. Oral delivery is problematic because it goes into the oral cavity, into the stomach, gets degraded in the stomach, and then goes into the small intestine, which gets further degradation, and then really gets cleaved by about 80% in the liver. So you know functionally when you're delivering a very expensive API like the different cannabinoids, you want it to be efficacious, and because of that degradation and delivering a product orally, it's not effective. So the bottom line, it's a non-polar active API. So it's very difficult to get that absorption into the blood and get that efficacious dose. Everyone here knows about GW getting FDA approval. How many people know about that, right? Epidiolex for pediatric epilepsy. It was a great approval process by the FDA. I think it actually helped CBD become, the Farm Bill become approved as well. The problem with their delivery system, they also have to deliver very high amounts because, again, you get that first pass degradation, active degradates, and you're not getting it into the blood. I think I have 5 seconds of slides, so I better hurry up, I guess, huh? So one of the balancing acts of delivering a drug active is being able to create that efficacy, but also limiting the toxicity. So imagine if you could deliver an active, either buccally or sublingually. Buccal is between the cheek and gum, if you don't know what that is, like chewing tobacco. Delivers it effectively, permeates into the bloodstream pretty effectively if you're using the right polymer systems and encapsulation technologies, which we have patents on. We'll get into that a little later. But if you can deliver less of the active and get it into the blood, you potentially have less side effects and you can widen the therapeutic index. Again, we're an FDA facility. We do clinical trials, and we make sure that everything is done appropriately for the patient. It's really about ease of the patient and the delivery of the active. So basically, a lot of these oral drugs that you're delivering in the stomach also causes GI irritation and then secondary complications. I won't get too much into that. We talked about this. There's really quite a bit of lost revenue in the pharma industry because of lack of ability to deliver an API effectively. If you can look at the numbers, I mean, a loss of $630 billion because of non-compliance and safety issues with the different delivery systems or oral delivery of medications. Our delivery system is a thin film technology, and we'll talk about that a little bit, as well as transdermal, and we also do sublingual. The delivery system that we utilize, sublingual and buccal, are again between the cheek and gum or under the tongue, depending on what we want to do. So under the tongue, we look for rapid onset for a bolus effect. So if you're in pain or if you have an indication that needs to be treated from an acute standpoint, we would do a sublingual. If we want something that has time release mechanisms and different polymer systems releasing active over a long period of time, we may opt to do a buccal delivery. I'm not going to get too far or too deep into the weeds. All right, pun intended. Tough crowd. All right. So, so sublingual, you don't have to, you don't have to swallow. under the tongue. It's a mucoadhesive thin film matrix that actually adheres to the mucosa, so it doesn't slide around. It's not like drops where you swallow some of it. So you're getting precise dosing by doing that. And the same with the buccal delivery. It's extremely mucoadhesive, so it actually sticks to the side. We actually have different polymer layers that we utilize, so some of the API doesn't leach out the other side, and you're actually facilitating permeation across the buccal mucosa, so it's very unique. I should say we have a 40,000 square foot facility. It's a class 10,000 clean room, fully automated manufacturing facility for the different delivery systems that we utilize. So I went over this, I'm not going to go over that. So really important, I just want to show a little of the technology side. When I talk about proprietary, IP is important to us. We really create a hub of IP, patents, trade secrets. Patents are like picket fences. They have spaces in them. People can get through those, or companies. We basically protect those with trade secrets integrated in those spaces. We utilize liposomal, buccal. You guys heard nano-emulsifications. I think one talk had one today. Nano-emulsifications, plasticizers, permeation enhancers to facilitate the delivery of the active very effectively. So again, we do oral thin film. We do transdermal. Transdermal is used for acute pain in joints potentially. Could be used for topical diseases as well and topical indications, as well as getting into the blood system. It's pretty effective in the time release mechanism. Patient benefits, obviously, we can have rapid onset. We can actually use less dosing, widen the therapeutic index, like we said. It's quick dissolving. You do not need water. That's a key indicator if you're taking it at night. And it's extremely portable, transportable as well. You can put it in your pocket. You can take the dose when you need it. I think that's a pretty effective thing. I'm not going to get into that too much because we have like 3 seconds a slide that I'm allowed. So basically, we have the competitive advantages for the thin film that we do. We've been able to deliver higher than 250 milligrams of an API on our thin film. We've been able to put 7 different actives in the thin film. And we are able to actually, we have a computational analysis program that's patented that we utilize to choose which polymer systems that we would be delivering these APIs through and which release points we're looking for. So we can actually adjust the pharmacokinetic profile or bioequivalency of a drug depending on what our desired approach is and what the indication is that we're going after. Obviously, intellectual property is very important to us, so we have a vertically integrated facility with a plethora of patents as well as trade secrets that help protect the technology and actually enhance the way we actually deliver the API to the patient as well as how we manufacture the process. We have currently 10 issued patents. We also have 12 patents pending. Again, we cover film compositions, polymer blends, encapsulation methods. If you're delivering cannabis, or if you have a company you want to deliver cannabis, you're going to have to do some type of encapsulation. You're going to have to do some type of emulsification or some type of delivery system that really helps bypass that first pass degradation. Otherwise, you'll see a lot of these technologies and people failing. There's a lot of growers out there. There's a lot of end products out there being sold, but the key is how do you deliver the cannabis, and that's really going to be the key in the next 3 to 5 years. Let me talk about this. This is just a study we did on an API that's a non-polar API, very similar to cannabinoids. You can see that the tablet is in a light blue. It's a typical pill you take orally. And then the darker blue, I guess that's dark blue, I'm colorblind, so I probably shouldn't have colored those. The dark blue actually shows the amount of active getting into the blood, and we basically have 500 NGs in the blood within a 30-minute point, and in the oral delivery, it was still not readable in the blood. So we were able to almost, I'd say, double the amount of active in the blood in a half-an-hour period, get immediate effect into the blood. This is a real clinical study. Able to get real active in the blood, which allows us to actually cut the dose in half and still get the same effect for the specific indication. That's a pretty amazing result for delivering a non-polar active. I won't get too far into that. We do have a strategic approach. We are working on the endocannabinoid system as well, and non-endocannabinoids. We're not just a cannabis company. In fact, we're launching several drugs. I'll show you the pipeline. But we are in the nutraceutical side. We think that's a big deal. There's some cannabinoid-like molecules and terpenes that are natural, that are very effective and have great clinical studies on it. We are in the pharmaceutical side. We do ANDAs, ANDAs, which are abbreviated filings, as well as 505(b)(2)s, which is just augmenting or changing the way you deliver a specific API. And then we also have pharmaceutical cannabinoids. The pharmaceutical cannabinoid side, we're working with both synthetic, we're working with whole plant, and as well as we're working with future biosynthetics. So I'm not going to go into that. So we do have several strategic relationships. We are the exclusive, basically the exclusive delivery system using OTF with Canopy Growth. I think everybody in the room probably knows what Canopy Growth is. We just finished our feasibility stage on several different delivery formats, different APIs, different we call active product ingredient. That's the different cannabis or cannabinoids and terpene profiles that we're delivering for probably about at least 6 to 12 different indications we're working on currently. And it's just not OTF, it actually expands into other delivery technologies as well. And then we have a collaboration currently with Technion Institute out of Israel, if you guys know them. They're one of the leading research institutes. Dr. Dedi Miri, a good friend of mine, great researcher. We're doing a lot of cancer research currently with this. We have some very good results, early stage, that we're getting into the animal studies now. And we actually have some proprietary cannabinoids that were discovered. For everyone in the room, there's over 140 cannabinoids that have been identified. We just identified 3 new cannabinoids, at the Technion Institute, and we're excited about that. Hopefully we'll announce that pretty soon. And then just getting into the pipeline, what Cure does, we have a sleep product on the market, which is in the medical, food, and nutraceutical space, depending on where we sell it. That just launched this year. That is using a natural cannabinoid molecule, or cannabinoid-like. It's considered terpene cannabinoid, which uptakes on the CB2. It's actually a CB2 agonist. If you guys are familiar with that, I won't get into that too much. Then we have Cure Film Blue. Better known as the brand was Viagra. That's sildenafil in a generic form. We're delivering that in a thin film. Goal there is to deliver less active, have less side effects, and actually hopefully more effective and pretty much discreet, which is nice, I think. I mean, that's what I hear. And I hear it works well. Cure Film Vitamin D is another one. It's 50,000 IUs of 1 dose a week. We're doing this for the Middle East companies, an Irish pharmaceutical company that is selling in the Middle East and Asia. There's vitamin D deficiency is epidemic there, and it's a once a week vitamin D. The clinicals on this are phenomenal. So you take a thin film, you put it in the mouth, it dissolves over in about 35 seconds in the sublingual cavity, and it uptakes into fat cells because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. And you don't have to deliver any more vitamin D for another week. So it's a very effective approach to delivering. Beta-caryophyllene, anyone know what that is? Anyone hear about this ever? No. All right, yes, all right, good. Natural terpene, terpene cannabinoid-like mimicker, if you will. Actually very effective for anxiety and neurological pain, believe it or not, nerve pain. And we are currently doing studies with this and going through a process. I will tell you it's not the traditional pharmaceutical FDA process. It is with the FDA, but it's in a very abbreviated process. We're very excited about this and some of the research. And we have the Cure Canopy pipeline that we're developing out further. Very excited about the different indications. Now the deal we have with Canopy Growth extends into Europe, Canada, Latin America. It's a semi-exclusive depending on the indications that we're doing. And we're looking to launch possibly late 2019 some of the products for Canopy Growth. That's extremely exciting. And then we have some of our own stuff coming out of Technion that we're in early stage clinical studies on. So that's what, we don't need to see that, that's me. But yeah, so that's basically what we do. We've been around since 2011. The company was founded by 6 individuals, including myself, 5 of them from Amgen. I'm not from Amgen, but I did some consultant work with them. But 5 from Amgen, early stage Amgen guys. One of my guys was number, I think, 47 at Amgen. So really knows how to build out a facility. But again, we are DEA Schedule 1 licensed, so we can do research if anyone has research needed, and we actually can do all the manufacturing and production. So I will open the floor for questions if there's any. I like no questions. Everyone's at the bar already. Anybody want to go to the bar with me? Yes. Yeah, so we just launched this year on revenues. You know, the first, let's see, how long have we been around? Yeah, so the first 5 years was building the facility, trying to scale up. You can make things in a lab, but now you got to learn how to scale it up in manufacturing. So I would say the first 6 years really was developing out that ability to do that. We had to engineer and make our own equipment and design it. We had engineers, in-house. So we were able to do that. We automated the process. Sustainability was a big deal to us as well. So we were able to achieve that, and we just launched this year research and development revenue and sales, and we did about $680,000 in a 6-month period. We just started. Cash on hand is around $2 million. We're in the middle of a raise currently. Yep. How much are we raising? Raising $10 million. Our market cap's around $50 million, $52 million. Yep. We're on the OTCQB. Did you have a question? Oh, sorry. Yes, Mike.
I think there's other companies that do thin film. How do you guys differentiate yourself, like Listerine and things like that, and some of the other companies that try to deliver
So.
actives through thin film?
Yeah, no, I can answer that. Good question. So thin film, you can make a thin film, but really the key is how do you integrate that API or active ingredient into the thin film, and what technology you're using, right? So you can put an API in the thin film. That doesn't mean it's delivering functionally. So what we utilize is specialized encapsulation technologies. We have patents on nano and liposomal encapsulations, phospholipid encapsulation, and different permeation enhancers. And we can load a lot more. We can do the most active in a thin film, which is really key, especially if you want to try to do full spectrum. If you're doing whole plant, plant extracts, terpene combinations, we're able to put several actives in a thin film where no one else has been able to do that. And keep it stable. You got to stabilize it. Our thin film is stable for 2 years, so that's a big deal as well. Yeah. Any other questions, answers? No? Nothing? Yes? So the sleep product is direct to patients right now. We have a direct to patient group that we're doing, consumers, patients. So that's not for sale in retail yet. For everything else, we're going through the FDA process, the IND filing for the sildenafil project. So that's not in the markets yet. The earliest marketable product on the list here, that will take 18 to 24 months, typically in a 505(b)(2) process with the FDA. We will be the first to market, which gives us an exclusive on a sildenafil thin film for 5 years as a generic, so that's a big deal for us. And the product's already been scaled up, and we have stability on it, which is another huge plus. So we put a lot of capital into that. The Cure Film D is in the Middle East and Asia right now. We will be opening up the U.S. markets this year with a big distribution channel. And we're also doing direct to clinics as well for the vitamin D. It's actually replacing vitamin D shots, injectables. Yeah. We have our own film, yeah. Yeah, it's actually a dissolvable film, so it's not a transdermal film that 3M does. On transdermal, we have our own transdermal technology. Yeah, absolutely. We have actually a liquid rub that actually turns into a liquid film. So, am I out of time? No? Yeah, I can keep going. One more question. Yeah, so that's the other thing. That's a great question. I didn't get into that too much, the verticals. If you think about thin film could be utilized for the pediatric sector. Very easy, right? Kids do not like taking pills. In fact, a study by one of the largest universities in the U.S., Columbia, showed that 40% of the people in the U.S. They do not like to swallow pills. They can't swallow pills. It's called dysphagia. That's a big deal. And then the veterinarian side, we think, is a big vertical as well. Dogs, cats, I mean, probably not goldfish, but, dogs and cats and things like that. And then as far as the, geriatric side, as you get older, it's very difficult to swallow pills. Then you have MS and Parkinson's diseases and things like that. So that's kind of the, areas that we're looking at, places that are hard to swallow pills and, in those different vertical populations. We're good? All right, thank you. Thank you, bud. Thank you.